What's up, guys? I'm Andrew Freed from Bass Freedom. Today I'm going to show you a major pentatonic inspired groove over a dominant chord. Before we break it down measure by measure and practice together, these are the things you need to know in order to best absorb this. The major pentatonic scale and the dominant 7 arpeggio. For the major pentatonic, we're going to be using the first finger pattern. There are multiple starting patterns for every scale and every arpeggio, and you must know them all. For the dominant 7th chord, we're going to be specifically honing in on the 4th finger arpeggio starting pattern. I'm going to be speaking strictly in terms of the intervals. You must be comfortable with your intervals on the bass and know all their shapes so you could best absorb this and not just be stuck in one key. Major pentatonic is a 5-note scale derived from the major scale. The major scale, which has 7 notes, if we take the 5 intervals, the root, 2nd, 3rd, 5th, and 6th, that makes up the major pentatonic. This groove takes advantage of the first finger scale pattern. The cool thing about the major pentatonic scale on the first finger is it really allows us to do the same thing in multiple octaves and to continue ascending our instrument. I really dive into the pentatonics in my upcoming course on Bass Freedom. On the website, there's going to be every scale shape, every pattern, with tons of examples and the true system for mastering your pentatonics. So check that out if you're trying to really level your game up. Now let's talk about the dominant 7th arpeggio. This dominant 7th arpeggio is going to start on our 4th finger, and the intervals that make up the 7th chord is the root, 3rd, 5th, and flat 7. It's really important to know things in multiple ways on the bass. I think that's the secret to not just being stuck in one box. If you know how to play scales and arpeggios starting on every finger and in different ways, it's going to enhance your creative ideas and you're going to understand things more. Like when you learn a groove like this, you'll be able to take it and do it beyond G7. You'll be able to do it in any key, and it's super important. So make sure you really shed those. So let's look at the first few measures. This is going to be swung, so it's going to have that nice bluesy, shuffly feel. I'm playing literally up the pentatonic scale. I'm going back and forth between the 5th and the 6th in this scale, but it's pretty straightforward. Let's loop those first 2 measures. Play it with me. 1, 2, 3, 4. Once we hit this octave, we're going to set up ourselves to do the same thing, just the octave above. Instead of hitting that next octave, we're going to pause there. It's literally the same thing, up an octave. So let's loop that second part, then we'll put it all together. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. Let's put it all together now. Just the same thing, up an octave, swinging, major pentatonic. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. Great job. So far, we've just used major pentatonic, played it from one octave to the next, and a nice swing and feel. As for fingering, choose what's best for you. You can definitely use fingers 1 and 3 or 1 and 4. I think for fingering, you should have the freedom. Now here's where the dominant 7th chord comes in. What we're going to do is we are going to play the flat 7 of G7, which is F. We're going to mainly outline G7 and do a bluesy Mixolydian type sound, descending from the flat 7. So we're going down from the flat 7. I'm going to then play the flat 3 into the major 3rd. That's a very bluesy, common bluesy approach to a dominant chord. Once I hit my root, I'm going to then play some lower intervals too, the lower flat 7, and just mess around with this arpeggio. And I'm really all in this 4th finger dominant 7th chord. Let's loop just that phrase. 2, 3, 4. Press pause, go back, keep looping that. If that slowed down version was a little too fast for you, go to the settings and then slow it down to like 75% or 50%. Really loop it, understand what we're doing here. It's just centered around that G7 arpeggio, but we're really taking advantage of it. We're playing the lower intervals, playing a little flat 3 into the major 3rd, gives it that bluesy sound. Now let's put all that together so far, loop it a couple times before we finish it off. 1, 2, 3, 4. Go back, rewind, loop it, slow it down until you get it. So here now at the end, we're going to throw in a little ghost note approach, but we're also going to learn it in an easy way too, just in case the ghost note approach is tough for you or you haven't learned that yet. Let's learn the blueprint of what we're doing over these ghost notes so you can have that easier and tougher way. All we're doing here is walking up to the 5th, and then resolving back to the root from the flat 7. So the easy way first would sound like this. But I'm choosing to play a ghost note, a raked ghost note approach to this to spicing it up. Raked ghost notes are when the act of our fingers strike through the string in a perpetual-like motion. On Bass Freedom, I have a whole ghost note course with over 40 videos and exercises and levels breaking down every single possible ghost note technique there is. So we're going to rake octaves going up to the 5th. Then we're going to do the same thing, resolving back into the root. Let's put those 2 last measures together, and then we're going to do the whole thing. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, if that's tough for you, take out the ghost notes and just do the little walk up to each interval, and that'll be a nice little way to set this back up for a looping progression. Now let's do the whole thing. I'm going to do it slow. We're going to speed it up a little bit, and then you can pause and go back and play along with me. 1, 2, 3, 4. Faster, 2, 3, 4. Good luck with that, guys. It's a fun little G7 groove, and we're kind of just combining simple concepts that work over the dominant chord. Major pentatonic always works over dominant chords. Obviously, the arpeggio of the dominant chord works as well. I really stress knowing this in multiple ways, knowing your intervals. That is going to best set you up to be able to take a lick or a groove that you learn and then do it elsewhere. If you are a member at Bass Freedom, you are able to download this transcription and the backtrack. So make sure, if you really want to get this groove down, check it out on bassfreedom.com. All right, guys, that's this week's Groove of the Week. I got more on the way. Check out for all of my content that I release on bassfreedom.com. My website is tons of bass education on the way. I'm so pumped. Please follow me on all the social medias. I got tons of stuff coming out for you guys, and I'm super pumped. Best of luck. Peace.